not a review per se. How about we just do some final thoughts on that Subtank? How about that? Final thoughts on the Subtank. Currently running 25 watts with the 1.2 ohm head. With some max VG juice in there. Nothing wrong with that. The Subtank. Big old drip tip, right? Sure looks big. But then it's dumbed down at the bottom. You will get more airflow out of the standard heads, non-rebuildable heads. They are rebuildable. Much more airflow out of the standard heads that you buy off the shelf than you will the rebuild portion. The rebuild portion itself, very K-fun. Very, very K-fun. There's no real way to widen that bore out. I looked into it. It's almost maxed all the way out. I was able to drill out the upper chimney. What do you want to call that? I was able to drill that out one more notch up to, what are we at here? We are at 9/64 now, and it was just a hair over an eighth. I got more airflow through there, though, than what comes in the rebuildable portion. And I mean, that's tight. Not as tight as the K-Fun, but K-Fun-esque. Compared to this, if you're looking for a K-Fun type vape with a high capacity tank, which it does hold, like they say, like 5 mils, but then when you put this in there compared to this takes up a lot of your juice room. See the difference there? Takes up a lot of juice room. What is it? 3 mils, then it brings it down to something like that. I don't know exact numbers, man. Do your research before you do them. No, I don't want to do that. It's a nice tank. It does exactly what it's supposed to do. I've not had any leaking issues. I haven't had any dry hit issues. Especially while using the regular heads. Now, while using the rebuilt head, I did run a tank of high VG through it. And it did alright. But the little wicking holes down on the sides there, which are really small, can't keep up the whole time. It's alright if you take a couple of drags and let it sit. Take a couple drags, let it sit for, a minute, whatever. But if you're constantly chaining it, it's not going to wick VG juice the whole time. But the standard heads do. The standard heads also have over a 2 mil hole on both sides of them to go straight to the cotton and wick it to where, what is that thing? A half a millimeter, something like that. Standard juices, the rebuildable head wicks just fine, even with that dual coil setup in there. It was working out great. But the thicker juice was just an almost no-go. .2 head in there. Works just fine. Chain vape it all day long. It is like a 25 millimeter device or something like that, right? Isn't that what they say it is? I can even put it on the Z-Max Mini because it reads 1.2. But it just looks dumb on there. I will say something about the organic Japanese cotton that's in them, and that comes with them. Really nice. They wick really well. However, I do notice what everybody was talking about, and that's the off taste. They have like a bitter tang to them when you're vaping them. Get some juice off my fingers here. We'll stick the 1.5 back in. And I noticed this too. Camera probably won't pick that up. Doesn't want to just go in. Why? Because it's just like that rubber grommet in there that traps the wires. It's just a hair too big, so you got to push it in there. Let me prime it. It's been sitting out for a while. Let me prime it. We'll just use one drop. And throw her back in here. She's reading 0.6 right now. I only have it at 25 watts. Ain't gonna vape very well. Okay, maybe it will. That's 3.9 volts. I had a different juice on that coil before, so this kind of tastes funny. Let's see here. So I was vaping this at 30 watts before. Let's put her up to 30. Takes me a minute on the Sigelli. Don't mind me. Chain vape it all day long. Like I said, I haven't gotten a burnt hit or a dry hit on the regular heads at all since I've been using it. The dry off the 1.2 head here a little bit so I can put it away. It works, man. What more do you want? It works. Not impressed, however, with the rebuild portion. The rebuild portion is, I did modify mine a little bit so I could wick thicker juices. I drilled out the juice channels a little bit, but the coils that come with it are still on there. And if you want to take this whole thing apart, it's very K-Fun-esque. The center part is just, you got your deck up there with the coils on it. Okay, you got the bottom piece, and I just use a little drill bit, stick it in there, and it's a screw. Basically loosens up your positive post. But that's it. That's your airflow, man. That is your airflow. This is what's going to restrict this down. And I don't even know if I have a bit in here this size. It's just a hair bigger than a 3/32. So that's your airflow right there for this portion. Whereas your airflow in the standard head, you see all these little slots cut out right there? They're not very little. They're pretty big when you compare them. I can't even see my camera. My fat finger's in the way. One of those air holes right there is still bigger than the single airflow in the stock coil. And you got 4 of them that open up to that. Really? So you're not going to get the airflow you want and the airflow you would expect, seems how, and with the coils in there, it all holds in place, and the silicone that's underneath the positive is slotted out. It's slotted out. See that? Right into the juice channel and up into the positive. So it all stays in place really well. What do I do with that? I can tighten it back up, put the drill bit back in the little hole, tighten it back up, and I don't have to worry about my build section moving at all. It stays right where it was. Not touching, it's all good. But yeah, I mean, come on. Really? The airflow in this is just horrendous compared to the off-the-shelf heads. Like I said, I did chamfer the juice channel holes out just a little bit, just so I could wick some thicker stuff through there. But it's very K-funny, so I don't really see myself using this very often. If I'm going to go that route, I might as well throw my K-Fun on and rock that. But the stock heads that come with it are perfectly fine. They work exactly how they should work. You can see it. Chamfered it all out. If you have one, you know what it's supposed to look like. It ain't supposed to look like that. That one's a little off. Whatever. It's my device. I can do whatever I want with it. But that fixes my wicking of VG juices just fine. However, there's nothing you can do with that airflow to make that better. Drilling out that center post to make more airflow through it, there's not enough of a center post there. The K-Fun, I was able to, on mine, the center post, I was able to drill that out the next step. There was still plenty of metal around it to keep it good, and still, this thing's stiff, man. That's a mouth hit. And this is a little bit airier than my K-Fun, but it's still not enough to do a direct lung hit. You gotta slipstream it. So the rebuild portion's a thumbs down in my book. Let's put it with the top. And I don't know, it doesn't show up on camera very well, but this whole portion, I polished up all the stainless on here and the drip tip. What is with the drip tips that come with stuff? They have that almost polished, but yet they're a brushed finish to them. And it just like build up residue from, just vaping on it. Yeah, clean your mouth, whatever. It is what it is. This, after polishing the drip tip, it doesn't catch any of that. It stays nice and clean. You all know what I'm talking about. You vape on something all day long. You come back to it the next day and you go to vape on it and you just happen to look at it and you go, ew, go clean my drip tip. Okay, go clean your drip tip. So you clean that off. Next day, same thing. Well, with it all nice and polished up like that, it doesn't really catch anything. It's days before anything's on there. That's my final thoughts on this. I mean, it's a great device. It's right up there with the Aspire Atlantis. Right up there. Good flavor, good vapor. It's right there, man. Is it worth? What are they? 45? 45 bucks? Something like that? I forget what the Atlantis is. It's a good vape, and if you want to get into rebuilding and have a tank that's comparable, a little bit airier than a regular K-Fun, just a little bit, not as much as I would want for what the stock coil heads are, though. The stock coil heads have so much more airflow than this that it's like, why did you put that head in there with it? Why? Kanger, you got to figure out something with that. Make more airflow. Come out of that rebuild section. But with the rebuild section you already have, there's no way to retool that. You'd have to make a completely different one. Now, that is the nice part about it, because the Atlantis doesn't come with anything like that. It just has the heads that you screw in, that's it. You want to fiddle with them, go ahead and fiddle with them. But if and when or whatever I burn out one of these heads, I'll probably just go pick up the sub-ohm heads. That's not sub-ohm head. Sub-ohm heads in here. So it does do a wonderful job. And with the diminished airflow of the rebuild head, you don't have to really worry about running out of juice, because the juice lasts a heck of a lot longer in there with that rebuilt head than it does with the standard heads, just because there's so much wick, there's so much juice flow going through there, there's so much air going through there that you go through the juice fairly quickly. I fill it up twice a day, once in the morning, once in the afternoon. And it does have that little bit, you can kind of see it on the regular head. You see how far up that wick hole is from the base of it, right where it would stick down into the base. Well, that leaves you with like a mil of juice left in the bottom. This is better for wicking, because it's almost right at the base for the air hole or wick hole, and you'll get more juice out of your tank using the rebuildable one, but I don't think you'll have as satisfying vape experience with the rebuild one as you do with the heads, with the pre-built heads. However you want to say it, pre-built heads, store-bought heads, however you want to say it. But yeah, I do like it. I do enjoy it. It has a unique look to it. everybody knows. As soon as you see that, you're like, oh, is that a Russian or a K-Fun? Yeah. You see this and you go, well, what the heck is that? And then you got to tell them what it is. There it is. It does get an overall thumbs up. Comes with a lot of stuff. Box is huge. Box is huge. Huger than anything else. You know. I said you do get some organic cotton. That's all I got left. I did wick one of my drippers with it for the heck of it. You do get the pair of pre-built coils that's on the that's in the rebuildable already, and another pair in a baggie, along with a screwdriver, some spare screws. It's a nice device. Good presentation. Very nicely built. I mean, the thing comes apart and goes together nice and easy. Like I said, no leaking issues. It's been great. Put that head back in there. Put this head back in here. Put the rebuild portion back, top back in there. It's been great, you know. Comes in that. I don't know what else I could tell you. You prefer this over the Atlantis? Well, I don't have an Atlantis. I've used the Atlantis. Put this in right, and it'll probably work. I've used the Atlantis. That's a nice tank too. I don't really find any flaws with either one of them. I don't know if it's just because this one holds a little bit more, but the Atlantis does go through the juice, it seems, a little bit faster. However, I believe it's also a little bit airier. But this is perfect for lung inhales. It has just a little bit of restriction to it. And it works well. So there it is. Final thoughts on that. Good device. After having it, would I have purchased it again? Sure. Yeah. Breaks. If it breaks, buy another one. Sure. Why not? It works. It works well. Do I recommend it? I recommend it if you have something variable wattage to put it on. Now, I always make my videos longer than they should be, right? Why stop now? Let's see here. You have a mech mod. This would probably look really good on a 26650 mod, like the Hades or something. This is my Nemi. And it works great on there. It just, you know, doesn't look the greatest on there. Just because it's got that little bit of overhang. It doesn't really bother me too much. But I do like to be able to crank this up every now and then. And that's where the box comes in. Actually, I didn't even try the 1.2 ohm head on the mech at all. I only vaped it on here. Maybe in the future. But my time with it has been wonderful. Not a dry hit, just fill it up and keep going and keep going. The only fiddling I did was with the rebuild portion, and yeah, it works. I wish it was as airy as the standard coil heads, but it works, even with that dual coil setup. What did that come out to? I can't remember. Was that 0.6? Something like that? I mentioned it in another video. There it is. Y'all have fun now, because I know I will. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.